football fans, and if you listen to our fantasy football podcast, hello from the past. My name is Ricky Widmer. This is the Onside Kick. I am joined by Dave Oster.
Hey, guys.
And Mark Weber.
How's it going?
And this week on our regular podcast, bonus fantasy podcast down below, we're going to be talking about Patrick Peterson, saying some comments about Richard Sherman, a good old Twitter war, Brandon Marshall, new contract with the Bears, and quarterbacks in the NFL, start 'em or sit 'em, 2014 edition. But guys, Patrick Peterson saying about Richard Sherman that the headline on ESPN just says Sherman, no shutdown cornerback. And what he exactly said is, I believe if you put him in our system, I don't think he'd be able to last, honestly. I actually do much more than he is.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting quote because there's some good points to it. You can't say he's not a shutdown corner because he definitely is. But at the same...
I heard that, and I just said, look at last year's NFC Championship game.
But at the same... when Peterson says, I do more than he does, yeah, he kind of does.
He does more, but Sherman does it in the playoffs.
Well, because his team was in the playoffs.
No, I know.
And that's exactly the thing, too. The Seahawks is a huge team effort. If you put Patrick Peterson there, I guarantee you he's got Sherman's numbers.
Yeah.
If you put, Jennings in there, our Chicago Bears Jennings, same numbers.
Who, I mean, you just listed the two cornerbacks in the last 3 seasons who have the most interceptions, above Peterson, who has 12.
Yeah, definitely. It's an interesting thing because think about Jennings, think about Sherman, they're in systems where the cornerbacks, they just basically do their job. They don't worry about anything else. They go out there, they get interceptions, they make stops. Guy like Patrick Peterson, he's following his guy around. He's going to follow the number one wide receiver. He's got a lot more on his plate.
Well, and I'm looking at a tweet that Richard Sherman tweeted out, and he has the graphic of the top 5 interception count for quarterbacks in the last 3 years. And I see him at 20, Jennings with the Bears at 15, and then the names with Peterson with 12 interceptions. Jarius Byrd, yeah, he's good, and Eric Weddle, but they're no Jennings or Sherman.
Yeah, sure. I think when it comes to Byrd and Weddle, I think they're both good, though. I wouldn't
say
undersell
elite.
their talent.
I would almost say Richard Sherman is close to being I know we only say the elite word with quarterbacks, but you could say Richard Sherman's elite.
I guess, but it's not like he's Aaron Rodgers elite, where it's Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or Drew Brees make everyone else better.
At the same time,
he's got the best defense that we've seen since the 85
But there's only
Bears.
one quarterback on the field.
Sure, but and that's a point too, though, of this where it's just Richard Sherman. Yeah, he's a great corner, but every single player on that defense.
Let's get Dave in on this. What do you think?
It's just I feel the system does play up to his stats a lot. I want to agree with you on that. The one thing I'm seeing though is, like you were saying, you could plug any one of the top five corners in there, and they would put up similar stats. I almost want to disagree with you for the fact that they all have different play styles. Sherman is pretty physical, and he absolutely knows where the ball is. He goes up there and tries to fight for it when it's launched up there, but he sees so much less. So I want to say, if Patrick Peterson, he's got better cover skills, I don't think that he necessarily would get the number of picks that Sherman has. It's just play style. Definitely. Jennings, he goes a lot. He may be number 2 in picks right now, but I feel like Jennings plays the ball better than either of these two people. And that's not, I'm trying not to have a Chicago background on hometown fandom.
Chicago bias.
But maybe it is a little bit sneaking through. The one guy who I'm just saying, corners come and go in this league. It was Nnamdi. It was Darrelle Revis.
Wow, Nnamdi.
It was DRC.
Gone? Yep.
All of these guys have cycled through that top spot that you guys can't touch me. I'm so much better than you. And look, they're completely off the charts in a couple of years. So I'm just saying, he's not all that. You're going to see the Richard Sherman of next year in 2 years. It's just going to happen.
And
Joe Hayden may be that guy.
I even think that, let's say, for some odd reason, the Richard Sherman contract had ended after the Super Bowl, and they couldn't pay him. He walked. And let's say they drafted, Gilbert, Fuller.
Yeah.
Not guarantee, but I'm pretty damn sure in my mind that guy is going to have numbers very comparable to Sherman's numbers just because of the system. And I'm not taking things away from Sherman because if you switch Peterson and Sherman, Sherman's still going to have great numbers.
Well, yeah, I couldn't help but think of when you say no shutdown corner for Richard Sherman, I just keep playing that last play of the NFC Championship.
They threw four times in a row.
No, I know. But
3 times in a row, yeah.
The shutdown corners
at
make
the end
that
of the Super
play.
Bowl, are we talking about Super Bowl or the NFC
the
Championship?
The NFC Championship.
Either way, at the end of that game, it's just throw it as much as you possibly can.
But I mean, to go off of what you're saying about the system being why he's so good, I know that, I mean, the guy who played next to him at cornerback last year was Byron Maxwell. And it was the first season that he played in Seattle, all 16 games. First year, he even had an interception where he had 4. But if you look at their safeties, Earl Thomas, 15 interceptions in his career at Seattle. That's 4 years. I know that the 20 for Sherman was the last 3. So it's 10 in the last 3 for Thomas. And then Cam Chancellor, who has 7 in the last 3.
Yeah, they got out of the safeties in the league, they probably have 2 out of the top 5. It's scary. That's just flat out scary. I'm sorry. And the secondary, horrifying. They got great pressure up front. I think as a whole defensive unit, you help each other out, which definitely bumps up Sherman's stats. It's kind of like saying, Decker with his 1,000-yard season. It's like, you were Peyton Manning's wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. You're not that guy. Congratulations, though. The stats look fantastic on paper.
And the stats are what's going to get you in the Hall of Fame. The stats are what's going to get you on all-time great lists. And there's other factors to it, but at the same time, Sherman's point always is, and you can't say he's wrong, is just look at these stats. These stats say I'm better than you.
Yeah,
Numbers never lie. There's a whole show about it on ESPN.
And that show's terrible sometimes.
Most of the
time. I gotta
time.
say, yeah.
Well, about 95% of the time. I will say one thing though. I want to ask this question about Sherman.
Okay.
Does all this talk, does this put him in a vulnerable situation?
No, because this is his personality. He's a talker.
What I'm saying now, though,
he's a trash talker.
But what I'm saying is, when he messes up the next game, do we all jump on him and go, "I thought you had the best"? I bet you thought you were the best. I thought you had the best.
The reason why I'm going to say no is because the names like Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, the guys that play around him, they're going to cover him up and be like, okay, you had a bad game? Well, I had a good game. We didn't lose. Russell Wilson had a great game. We won the game. As long as the Seahawks win, it doesn't matter if Sherman has a bad performance here or there.
I think people are going to jump at him.
Everyone has a bad performance now and then.
I think the first time Sherman makes mistakes, people are going to jump at it.
But going with me, I feel like everyone makes mistakes sometimes, but when it counts, his numbers do the talking. And number 2, when it did count in that NFC title game, I know that it's not like, oh, that one play, he's a shutdown. But when the time was called, when they said, we're going to throw to our guy matched up with you, he made the play.
Yeah. I'm also excited. I kind of want this to happen just because in my mind, this is how it plays out. People complain about Sherman, and then what he does is he tweets, twit pics a picture of his Super Bowl ring on his hand. That's just what I imagine going on in my head. But Dave, I don't know about. I know you're looking up the difference between Patrick Peterson and Sherman here, but I think, is there more to it really than just numbers?
There is, absolutely. Just watching the game tape, they're 2 different players, and they come with their own play styles. That's what I was trying to get to earlier. It's just you can't compare apples to oranges. They're playing the same position, but they don't play the same position. Like I think we mentioned either previously or maybe off there. It was, well, Sherman gets the help, and Peterson plays across the entire field, blanketing some receiver. He can play inside. He can play outside.
Well, just kind of help your point, a quote in the ESPN article from Peterson is, quote, best, but as far as being a shutdown corner, man-to-man guy, in my eyes, I don't believe he's that.
Yeah, and I want to agree with him at that point because he's not. Sherman just sticks on his spot, regardless of who comes over there and plays. It's fantastic that whoever goes over there seems to not be targeted as much, seems to be picked off more often when they go that way. That's great, but you don't put him on Megatron and say, okay, we can walk away at this point.
But
you can't do that.
This is the thing to go off it, and this is the reason why I think the Seahawks have the luxury to just say, hey, you know what, Richard? That's your side of the field and go get it, is their 2 safeties, Chancellor and Thomas. You're going to get help, and it's going to be good help.
Definitely.
Does Peterson have that kind of help in Arizona? No.
Well, I mean, kind of. He's got some talented.
He's got talented
guys around
safeties, but he doesn't have the arguably two of the best safeties.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the one thing that does kind of hurt the Seahawks with Sherman is all you got to do is plan around it. And that's one of the reasons why he is the least targeted is because teams do exactly that. They just go, all right, you're going to intercept. Well, we're going to make you not a factor. We're just going to throw it somewhere else.
But just to be like...
And that's why the Seattle Seahawks are so good with that.
Well, just to not...
The rest of the team is so damn good.
You can say, well, we're not going to throw it that way, but by doing that, you're letting the Seahawks win because now it's like, okay, we just took out half of your field.
But in my eyes, there's more to it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more to that. You can't give all that credit to Sherman. Plenty of it goes to him, but a lot of that goes to Pete Carroll for putting together the team. And honestly, I would rather say Pete Carroll's the best defensive coach in the league right now than I would, before I talk about Sherman being the best shutdown corner. Not saying that he's not the best corner in the league right now, but I just think when it comes to the way I prioritize the credit for that team, Pete Carroll obviously comes up number one. He's the coach. He put it all together.
Well, and I mean, to go over to Arizona, well, you got to think, Pete Carroll's been with Seattle for a while now. He's implemented the system. Peterson, he just got a new coach last year. Bruce Arians is now in his second year. It's going to take time for a system to be in place. Well, it's started, but to really be like, this is our system, this is our identity. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely correct. This is a team that is still trying to find its way, and I think they're defensively, they're not set. They don't have the established people in place. They don't have, I don't know how to say, it's just a work in progress still. So I think that Patrick Peterson will have his role completely defined and have people around him to help him out.
Give me a name, Dave. Give me a name. Who's around him?
I'm just saying, I like Tyrann Mathieu. He was one of the guys who I was huge on in the draft. Couldn't believe he fell so late.
You just liked saying that, honey badger.
He had a good year. He's a great nickel player. He's got eyes for the ball. It's just a matter of time until they get more talent around Patrick Peterson, though. So I think his stats will improve. I don't think Sherman can really be like, I'm the best because I got the best stats. It's just, no. I think game tape, it wins out.
Well, and
what I see with my eyes is a different story than, your numbers.
Well, and the whole thing I'm thinking about is, I know why Patrick Peterson came out and said this on the radio. Not just, you're doing the money sign, Dave.
Absolutely money.
Not for money. He's saying this because right now, Arizona, and I'm even going to throw another NFC West team, the Rams. They're really high off of this offseason. They just added some new talent. Hey, we can actually contend with the Seahawks and the 49ers. He's doing this to get his Arizona Cardinal fans riled up about this season. Yeah, it's going to be a good year. We're going to win some games. We might go all the way. Hoorah.
I'm completely opposed to that.
How is he doing it? He's going to target the best corner, not just in the NFL, but in his division.
I think it's all about the cash. It's the contract money just saw get thrown out at Richard Sherman for his performance. He's like, he gets that much money? I'm better than him. How much are you going to pay me?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds pretty convincing to me. And on the other side, a guy like Sherman, who loves to defend himself,
he loves to just trash talk.
He's like the bad boy of the league right now. I mean, really, he's the villain. He loves being hated.
Is he the heel?
Yeah,
if we're talking wrestling terms?
That was the comparison we made for the Super Bowl. We were calling them the heel.
Is he the heel?
Richard Sherman. He's the one who put that vibe on the team. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I mean, I would love to see the Seahawks go more with it, like bad boy Piston style or something like that.
Yeah.
If they started getting a little swag to him, that'd be fun. I'll be honest.
I would enjoy it quite a bit. But yeah, for me, it's hard. I mean, stats are going to tell you Sherman's better, but I think if you put these two guys on neutral situations, I think they are very even.
Well, and
Shutdown core. If you put them 1-on-1 against Megatron, who's going to win? That's all I'm asking.
And the answer is Charles Tillman.
Well,
Yes.
because he's used to playing against
Well, it depends on
Megatron.
how many injuries he's racked up at that point in the season. I
Doesn't
think he
matter.
had like
Doesn't
2 to
matter.
the forearm, 1 to the
Doesn't-
wrist, 1 to the knee. I mean,
And the-
He doesn't care.
And the only
Yeah.
reason
Little guy
why
getting it
Tillman
done.
has to be so good is because he's got no help, because he's got
I
Chris
say.
Conti behind him.
Calvin Johnson blows past him.
There it is.
There's
and
the
you
Chris
kind of
Conti
look,
reference.
You look sideways, and you're like, Conti's on the other side. He ran away?
We need a Chris Conti bell or something on this podcast.
The
Every
Chri-
time we mention him, we can
The
ring it.
Chris Conti reference count just bing every time we
And
make a
it'll
Chris
go.
Conti reference. But, and the one reason, Dave, about you throwing up the money sign, why I don't think it's 100%
That's all I
about the
see.
money is because if it was his contract year, I would say yes. But he's got this year, and then next year is his contract year.
You don't think they're going to try to get him paid out ahead of time, get that on the books already?
And I mean, I
you don't
think
want to have him worrying about that for a whole season?
you're in a rough spot because if you wait, let's say you do something Richard Sherman style, you go out, blow everybody away. You're a big part of the winning the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl as well. Oh, damn! Now we got to pay him huge money.
And not that. I feel like actually with these comments, Peterson actually put a target on his back because you're coming from a team that in your division for the past X amount of years, it's been Seahawks and 49ers. Those are the top, and then you and the Rams are at the bottom.
Yeah.
Now, I am actually going to be one of them. The second that this defense doesn't match up, and if they have a bad season, I'm going to be like, who's the shutdown corner now, huh? And I know that we've said,
Joe Hayden.
it's a different situation. He's not in the same
But at
situation
the same
Sherman
time,
is.
though, Ricky,
but if you're going to be the shutdown corner,
because when it comes to Richard Sherman has a bad game. Oh, everybody has a bad game.
I'm not saying bad game. I'm saying bad season. Like
You think he would have
like
an
the
entire bad season?
No, I'm not saying him personally. I'm saying the Cardinals. As soon as that defense has a bad season, it's like, oh, I know you did good, but look at what Sherman's doing over here with his team. But like we've said, different situations.
It has a better. I mean, if you're talking about Patrick Peterson doing well,
To me-
Sherman doing well, defense and Carolina or
To
Arizona
me-
doing bad.
to
and
me,
Seattle doing good.
this is
not the same situation.
the only other thing he could have said with these comments is Cardinals are going to win the Super Bowl. This is like right below it.
Well,
Someone should come out. And
the good thing about this is it's not like the Seahawks have that number 1 wide receiver who's going to go out there and challenge Peterson. Peterson can go out there and guard anybody. It doesn't really matter.
No, they have beast mode. They're going to run the ball, and then
their number
Wilson's
one
just going to throw it to
receiver-
anybody.
No, the good thing is because Pearson, Arizona's about supporting that run defense, so he'll drop in the box and help out. That's what they've been doing so much. I mean, and again, this year he's not going to do kick returns.
of course.
Focusing more on his defense,
Which is good.
going to get his hips set, going to get his hands in a good position.
See,
I mean,
I
think he's on the uphill.
what you said about him
He's
not
gonna keep
being
getting
in,
better.
about
Arizona
him
in
not
general
being in
should
kick
be.
returns, I actually like that because I'm going to make a comparison to Devin Hester. What I know, Devin Hester wasn't the greatest cornerback,
But greatest
how,
of all time.
how
He didn't
decent,
deserve to be a nickel corner.
how decent could he have been if he didn't return?
Well,
Not good at all.
No, he wouldn't have been good. Ricky.
He
He's
was
the-
I
fast.
said decent. I didn't say
No.
good. I said decent.
no, not that either.
His number 1 quality was he was fast and he had decent vision.
yeah,
That does not make for a great nickel corner.
the greatest returner of all time, Ricky.
Yeah,
is just that.
that's all he is.
And that's all he is.
Yep.
Yep.
He didn't play offense. He didn't
Don't
play
do anything
defense.
else.
That's all he did.
We don't talk about that.
Nope. Didn't happen. It's like Fight Club.
Let me put this, just to put a nice bow on the Sherman Peterson trash talk a little bit this week. Who's going to have the better season? Individually, take the team situations out of it. Who's going to have a better season?
The better season.
Again, how are we
probably-
measuring this? I mean, are you talking most interceptions, most deflected passes, most times targeted?
Impact.
There's so many
just
different
overall
numbers.
impact on the game.
Overall impact, Peterson by far, because Sherman's on a studded defense. Sherman is a
Yeah.
replaceable cog in my mind.
The only reason I will probably go with Sherman.
Replaceable cog.
I said it.
The reason I'm going to have to go for Sherman on this one,
Mark,
guys.
we'll get to you. Replaceable cog. I am
From
still,
the man who just got paid so much money.
I'm still dumbfounded
The reason I'm
by
moving
that.
on by this is because I really don't see that huge of an issue with what Dave said.
Thank
A
you.
replaceable, like,
Especially with that coach who is known for being one of the best scouting coaches. He can go and draft anybody he wants.
I think he's not a replaceable
maybe not
cog.
20 interceptions in the last 3 seasons, good, but you can get someone who's going to be, 10.
You go on and say what you're going to say, Mark.
The reason I got to go with Sherman on this one is for the fact that the Seahawks are coming off on an all-time high. I think they're going to be very similar to the Packers after they won their Super Bowl. Just go out and dominate everybody. And there's going to be a lot of teams that are throwing from behind against the Seattle Seahawks team. And that's going to present the situation where Sherman will make a bigger impact than Patrick Peterson, whose team is more likely going to keep games close. And the Seattle Seahawks are just going to have a big benefit off of that. I think they're just going to, walk all over a lot of teams.
Well, and now to move on, one of the things we try not to do, and Dave, you always say it podcast in and podcast out is, this is my Chicago bias coming out. You get to actually have it come out because this week, Brandon Marshall, Chicago Bear wide receiver, signed a 3-year contract extension for $23 million. And what he said this week, and I quote, "I don't think I'd be sitting in this position talking about an extension if not for the trade to Chicago. I probably wouldn't even be having the success that I was having on the field in that environment." Talking about Miami, it wasn't right for me.
Yeah, Brandon Marshall is an amazing story. This is a guy who came into the league and everybody's like, he's got personality issues, and they're just dumping on him.
And then he gets diagnosed with multiple personality issues.
He finally gets the medical treatment he needs, starts seeing a psychiatrist, starts taking medication, and you see a different side of him. And now he's become like this great, I don't want to say like leader, but he's bringing so much
huge presence.
He's become a quality number one wide receiver.
No, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about like to the cause. He's trying to raise awareness for mental illness, but
gets fined in the process.
And again, he's just drawing more light onto it. I think he's a fantastic person.
That's for his. Is it the lime green sneakers, right?
And it's borderline personality disorder. What he has. But I like this. I love it a lot. He's very thankful for the team. He's thankful to his boy Jay Cutler, obviously. Also Mark Trestman, who he has nothing but praise for. It's definitely great to see future better than Chris Carter, Brandon Marshall. Give his thanks to the Chicago Bears.
I wouldn't say greater than Chris Carter.
He's on pace. He's on base.
We'll see.
Ignoring the guys who are at the same spot as him right now. Ignoring anybody still currently playing in the league because you do have to factor them in. He's on pace to be the all-time third best.
Basically, what you're looking at right now is Megatron and him.
Yeah,
stat-wise.
Maybe Andre Johnson squeezes in there.
But Andre Johnson is really reliant on what happens at quarterback right now.
I just feel like, and I'm talking as from a Bear community, it feels like if you're a Bear fan, not just because Marshall's a good player, but because of he can be the guy that's like, he's a face to not even just a wide receiver core, but a team. Yeah. And to be able to say, we got him for 3 years, 3 more years, you've got to be happy. And it has to feel good that, good, we got a number one wide receiver.
Well, it's great because you get Jay Cutler locked up for a while. You get his number one guy, Brandon Marshall. Alshon Jeffrey's got a good future here for a while.
But that's the question.
He's next up on the money.
He's the next priority. What do you think's going to happen with Jeffrey?
He and Forte.
Jeffrey above Forte, though. I would say Jeffrey is like, if we're talking priority, okay, we got Marshall locked up.
We got 2 young running backs in this draft.
We'll see what we can do,
But the thing is right now, your priority, Alshon definitely is next up. He deserves his money. There's no way you don't pay him. Martellus Bennett, he's going to probably get some money, nothing too huge.
Yeah, I think his impact, we expect a lot more out of him, but it wasn't necessary. So he's done okay, and I'm okay with that.
But at the same time, with a guy like Forte, he's such a reliable back. I mean,
he's been the he's been a top 5 running back for 4 years.
He will get you that 1,000. He's going to get you that 1,000 every season.
And I'm actually going to say this now because I know we're going to bring it up in the fantasy football podcast is the life of an average running back
30
isn't long. And if I'm sitting
maybe
there,
even 28.
Well, I'm sitting there, I'm going, okay, Forte, kind of on that limit, gonna be there soon. And I'm just like, you know what? Go with Jeffrey. Make sure I have my 1-2 wide receiver.
Definitely. I mean, you want those tall guys.
And honestly, I think, it is something that the Bears offense has kind of revolutionized with bringing in 2 very large wide receivers and playing the game of we can jump higher than you.
Did anyone
with
expect Jeffrey to have the season that he did
No,
last season? I didn't.
I did. It was obvious. I mean, you needed someone else to throw to.
It was just a matter of fact of having McCown go out there and show that somebody else can catch the ball.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what broke it. I mean, as soon as he did it, Cutler was like, wait. I can throw to somebody else who's not in triple coverage? Are you sure?
He's like,
I can still make the throw.
Wait a second. Brandon Marshall isn't the only receiver on the field?
I want to say one thing just because I think this would be very fun. Imagine having this lineup out there for Jay Cutler. You got Brandon Marshall. You got Alshon Jeffrey. You got Martellus Bennett. Marquise Wilson out there for the slot. Then you have Jordan Lynch as our running back. Nobody under 6 foot.
Nice.
On that field.
Nice.
All of them 6 feet and above.
See,
lineup.
Well, and that's a question that, because you brought it up, I know this is getting a little bit away from Brandon Marshall, but I want to ask you, the Bear fans, are we going to see anything from Jordan Lynch at the running back position this year?
Likely not.
Probably not.
I think he's a practice squatter.
No, you know what? I don't even say that though. I think he'll find his way onto the roster. Mark Trestman is in love with the guy. I think there might be a special package. And when we talk about this in Chicago Bears territory,
like a Wildcat type?
Yeah.
No, I don't think he's going to be doing any quarterbacking. I think it'll just be, if you want to call that quarterback,
an offensive weapon.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what
he's going to come in and do some
horrible
special
term.
things.
You know what I could see him kind of, and I'm talking style-wise, be like? Much like Rashad Mendenhall. Because Mendenhall in high school used to be a quarterback. He can throw the ball. Maybe, we're going to pitch it off to the side, and then just, everyone thinks he's going to run.
That's
boom.
total Steelers. Like, they love trick plays. They love gadget plays. That's just their thing on offense.
And I know Trestman might not be the most gadget play, but hey, it's worth putting it in there.
CFL's pretty fancy.
You pull some kooky stuff.
I mean, everyone focuses on Lynch going to the outside. They don't see Marshall or Jeffrey on the fly, and Lynch just tosses
Not
it.
Even that. This is what I would love to see. Good old-fashioned trick play. We've all done it in the backyard every now and then.
Statue of Liberty?
Almost. Just here, hand off to Lynch. Lynch goes to the side. Lynch throws it back to Jay. Jay throws it to Marshall.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not going to happen, but I'm going to do it in Madden, so.
No. It's not going to happen. I'm going to do it in Madden.
Back to Marshall, just to loop this back around. I think one of the greatest things is not only has he benefited greatly by being on the team, back with Jay Cutler and the Bears staff really supporting him, is he's taken some of that spotlight off of Cutler. I mean, Cutler was the face of the franchise, and after Urlacher kind of has stepped aside now, the spotlight was on Cutler, and he's not a public figure. He doesn't look like he cares. He's super laid back. He's a fun guy, but he just doesn't give that image that everybody wants in the NFL, that Tom Brady image, the Peyton Manning try-hard image.
You're talking about Cutler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Brandon Marshall kind of takes some of that spotlight off him because he's so well-spoken. He's happy to go out and talk to people, talk on radio shows, talk in public.
Well, I mean, look at where he signed his contract, on The View.
Yeah.
I want to say one thing, too, is think about this when it comes to the Chicago Bears. And if you're not in Chicago, you're probably not aware of this. But when it comes to post-games, what happens? The next day, Jay Cutler goes on radio. But that night, Brandon Marshall's on TV.
Well, and not just that. When Jay doesn't go on ESPN Chicago for the radio, who steps in for him? Brandon Marshall.
Exactly.
And
he is hilarious on the radio show.
Waddy and Sylvie, they'll say it. They love having Brandon Marshall on their show. And he's great for the radio. And I feel like, and I say this as a Vikings fan, but I live in Chicago, he's just a likable guy.
Yeah.
Brandon Marshall's very likable.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And then you have, the quirky Martellus Bennett out there. It's a fun group of guys.
And how many times have you heard Marshall just mention Bennett's name? Like, there's multiple interviews. It feels like the Chris Conti reference us. He's always got to mention Martellus's name.
They have the Martellus bell that goes off. But yeah, it's a very fun group to have. You're excited about it, and they're all good football players.
You know what I get a kick out of? I'm thinking back when we were first picking up Marshall for the 2 third-rounders. Mm-hmm. They're showing clips of him in Denver punting the ball there in practice because he just didn't want to be there. And I'm like, that is a guy who definitely doesn't want to be here. And then I see him come to Chicago, and I'm like, yeah, he's an amazing wide receiver. See how he fits in. And it's like a match made in heaven. I mean, He's happy. Jay's happy to have him. But I still get a kick out of it just watching him drop kick a couple balls.
It's funny to me of just how quickly, first of all, Jay Cutler became the best Chicago Bears quarterback. Look at the stats. That's not, that's
we
not
just
an
didn't
opinion.
have one.
Yeah, we've never had one. And then Brandon Marshall essentially is the best wide receiver, and he's been here not long at all. And it doesn't take long for these guys to just go out there and become the best in Chicago.
Well, okay, now to switch our attention to the last segment of our podcast tonight, and we're going to do a little start 'em and sit 'em for the young quarterbacks in the league.
I'll start it out for you guys. Aaron Rodgers, start him or sit him?
Yeah.
I got a good feeling about this, but don't spread it too much. He's kind of good.
He's kind of good. Possible sleeper, Dave, Aaron Rodgers?
I'd sit him.
But we're going to start off Blake Bortles, Jacksonville. Dave, start him or sit him?
Sit him. I'm all for the old school mentality of this guy doesn't need to perform right now. He can sit back, learn, and become a more developed quarterback. You got to
sit behind Henne, Chad Henne.
Chad Henne's a smart guy.
Okay.
I mean, did he ever have a season where he's like, oh, this guy's fantastic? No. But guess what? He's a bright guy, and I have total confidence in the fact that this is a young quarterback who came in and kind of exploded at the end of his college career.
Needs to learn the pro-style offense.
He needs to learn how to be a quarterback. He needs to learn how to read defenses.
Well, not be a quarterback, just the pro-style offense.
Saying he needs to learn how to be a quarterback.
And let me put it this way, Mark, before we get to your start 'em and sit 'em, I'm going to say sit 'em because you're not going to make the playoffs anyways. So sit 'em, let them learn.
So,
yeah. I mean, that's not bad.
I don't want to throw punches here, but Teddy Bridgewater, can sit him then.
Hey, wait a second. We have no one to start above him, and plus
Christian Ponder.
I don't know.
He's done. He's garbage.
To be fair on that part of the argument,
Teddy Bridgewater doesn't need to learn a pro-style offense.
I would say that I'm even going to call him Mark Castle because who the hell knows who he is?
You mean Matt Castle?
Yeah, because who knows who he is about at the same level as Chad Henne.
No, I would say
I would absolutely agree.
You have to start Teddy Bridgewater. You have to.
Why? You're not going to make the playoffs.
Well, we're not going to make the playoffs, but to be honest, Teddy Bridgewater doesn't need to learn how to be a quarterback. What you said about Blake Bortles, and plus
he did come out as the most polished quarterback.
And plus, there is a chance. Even though I'm not going to say that the Vikings are going to make the playoffs because we possibly won't. There's a
99% chance
small possibility that we could if Bridgewater starts because Castle and Ponder proved we're not going to make the playoffs with them.
I don't think Castle proved that. I'll be honest. I don't think Castle proved that. I think he could put together an 8-win season.
I think he did.
The only way the Vikings make the playoffs is if Aaron Rodgers breaks his arm.
No, because the Packers will still get in if Aaron Rodgers gets in.
Yeah, Matt Flynn.
I say
he's back.
I'm not done. There's a long list of people who need to be
from Chris Conte, but
who need to be deathly injured.
Chris Conte could just be on the field and the Vikings will make the playoffs.
The other three quarterbacks in the NFC North would need to break their throwing arms.
Hey, with Jay, it's possible.
It is more than likely. It is not just possible. It's more than likely. There's such a long list to carry through.
No, and I'm not saying that the Vikings are gonna make the playoffs.
And I'm saying they're not.
No, but I mean Jacksonville. Jacksonville's the lowest of the low. They're probably gonna have a top 5 pick.
The reason I like the sitting Blake Bortles is this GM is very much a no nonsense type of guy. He said no to Tim Tebow immediately. He said no to Johnny Manziel fairly immediately. Mm-hmm. He's saying, we're sitting this guy. I 100% believe him. He says
there's no reason not to.
Yeah, I mean, he's a man of his words. He's saying, I don't care about right now. I care about the future. And the future is sit this guy, let him learn.
I think the only way he sees time is if they go 0 for, 8 maybe. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I guess there's no harm, no foul.
I will say it is hard, though, to draft a quarterback number 3 overall and have him sit on a bench.
Yeah, but you just don't want Carr syndrome. Not the young one who was just drafted, his older brother.
David Carr.
Correct. Who just got shelled. And I think this was a kid who had potential, but he just had nothing around him and no offensive line to protect him. He was just done. It was like you just killed his career by throwing him to the Wolves, and I just don't want to see that happen in Jacksonville.
Well, and because Dave, you kind of already threw it out, we'll go Teddy Bridgewater next. And the reason why I'm going to start it is not only because I'm a Vikings fan, but I say start him because what did you just say about Jacksonville and about David Carr? Didn't have anything around him. Well, you look at Bridgewater, he's got Patterson, we just drafted Khalil Mack last year, he's got Jennings on one side, AP behind him. He's got the tools to be successful. and he doesn't have to sit like Blake Bortles and learn how to be a quarterback.
As long as he remembers to wear the glove on game day.
Yep. Oh,
Hey.
that's important.
Just like he did on the Gruden camp. When he just wear the glove, don't even think about it. Just wear it.
But what happens when they get that little roof on top of the new stadium?
Well, if it gets a little toasty in there,
does he take the gloves off?
I don't know.
Move?
I'm not speaking for Teddy Bridgewater.
Oh,
I don't
interesting.
know.
I mean, that's going to be tough.
I
One
say
week he's
keep-
going to have it on. One week he's
I
gonna have it off.
say you've played with the gloves for how many years? Play with the gloves.
He didn't, though, because he took them off every now and then.
Yeah.
I just like to make fun of the glove thing.
I say play with the
That's
gloves.
such a weird, superstitious thing for
But
him
when
to
it
have.
comes to Bridgewater, I say start him. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, you got to start Bridgewater. You don't have any other quality quarterbacks out there.
Thank
so
you.
let's see what happens with
Thank
this
you,
rookie.
Mark.
No, you're right. I'm with you. Start Bridgewater. Go ahead.
Guy saying that Christian Ponder should start. You're making me
I'm
cry.
actually saying
Hey.
Castle would be the starter, but
Ponder is,
You're taking a stake and putting it right through my heart, Dave.
hey, that's what
right
you get
through
for
my
making
purple
statements
heart.
like we're not making the playoffs. Why start them?
Personally, I
You
think
don't make Blake and
It's Jacksonville.
you guys had a quarterback on your
Jacksonville.
roster a while ago named Joe Webb. And
Joe Webb.
let him go. I don't know where he is now, but he's not in.
Joe Webb threw the most
Webb.
vertical pass I've ever seen.
Hey, he won a game.
He did win a game.
Yeah, but how many playoff games did he win?
How many playoff games did any of your quarterbacks win?
Case in Brett Favre.
Brett Favre
Joe
wasn't
Webb,
even your
Joe
quarterback.
Webb's actually on your team.
Is he?
On Claw Up.
Oh, what do you
Yeah.
know?
He's on the
perfect
Panthers.
bet.
Running back right
He's
now.
a perfect fit. He's also a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Wide receiver, running back. He's playing it all.
I think
Well, I'll
everyone
get
listed
into
on that
He's
offense
gonna
is
hand it
slash
off to
wide
himself,
receiver.
then throw it to himself. It's
But-
gonna be great.
Another quarterback. Of course, this is the whole podcast last week that Dave, you missed. I'm going to start with you. Johnny Football, start him or sit him.
Start him. There's absolutely no reason not to. It's hilarious that they're trying to treat him and be like, oh, yeah, you're going to practice with the third stringers today. Like, no. You brought him there for one reason. He sells tickets. He makes a splash. Dude's got potential just off the charts. Let him do his thing. And I think if they're not going to support him and put the system that he's comfortable with around him, then what's the point of picking him up? I don't understand it. He's not going to get inherently better by sitting because it's not his style. He's not the cerebral quarterback who's going to learn the defenses and start breaking down. Okay, there's a break in coverage here, so I'm going to throw right now. And no, that's not him. He's the guy where things go wrong and he's got an answer for you. And you're only going to see that when you play him. He's not going to do that on the bench for you. I just think there's no benefit to having a quarterback like him on the bench.
Are you saying that he's a gamer?
I'm saying he's a gamer.
He's a born winner.
Yep, you heard it.
Good.
I'm going to say Starma as well, just because, I said this last week when we asked the question, should he start for Cleveland? I'm going to say it right now. Johnny Manziel's going to sell tickets. And if you don't start him week one, he will be exactly what Tebow was to the fans
We're gonna riot.
in Denver. Yep. It's going to be, as soon as Hoyer throws an interception, Johnny Football, dun, 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 dun. That's going to be the chant.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see because I think Hoyer will be the one that starts.
Likely.
I think he will. I really do believe him right now.
But are you saying start him or sit him?
I'm saying you should start Manziel
Okay.
because he's not going to do you anything on the bench. He's the kind of guy who, like Dave's saying, he needs to be on the field. I don't think that's going to happen, and I think the switch will be made at some point during the season, and things will work out a little better for him.
Dave, you mentioned David Carr. Derek Carr in Oakland, start him or sit him?
Sit him. I think you've got the pick machine. He'll go for a couple weeks, but he'll let it go of the reins halfway through the season. I don't think he's going to set another record for most
Not
consecutive
by
pick
his choice.
sixes.
He'll,
It's not going to be pretty. But I think it is Oakland. So Carr's going to get his fair share of starts this season. Absolutely confident in that. I just don't think he's ready right off the bat. And there's no point in throwing him into that.
I'm going to say start him because, like you're saying, you got to pick off a pick-throwing machine out there. And there's just... I think Schaub has proved that there's not much he can do, especially when he doesn't have weapons.
Man, imagine Patrick Peterson's stats if he got to play against Schaub more often.
I know, that'd be fantastic. So there's just not, yeah, sure, Carr could learn a little bit, but a lot of scouts were kind of thinking Carr's one of the better quarterbacks in this draft.
And that's why I'm kind of in between on it. You could start him, you can sit him. I say start him just because we already know what Matt Schaub can do. We don't know what Derek Carr can do. If he stinks the first 3 games, who cares? Then play Schaub. Don't do it the other way around.
Really? You would throw the rookie out there and bench him halfway
I
through
wouldn't
the
say I
season?
would, but you could do that if you were that
I think
stupid.
that's the wrong approach, and that's what. No,
I'm saying you could do that. I wouldn't do that, but you could.
that's what they're doing in Tampa Bay. It sounds like, and it hurts my brain.
I was going to go through all the rookies, but we're going to throw in a sophomore quarterback,
He's
Glennon
young.
or McCown. Who would you go with? Are you going to start or sit Glennon? We'll put it that way.
You sit Glennon.
I think if you have no plans of Glenn being your franchise quarterback, you sit him.
You sit Glennon no matter what. You paid McCown good money to be a starter. And it's a joke that they pay him this money. If I'm a fan of Tampa Bay and I just watched my team give all this money to McCown and then watch McCown sit on a bench, he's getting paid more. I mean, this isn't Russell Wilson we're talking about, but he's getting paid more than the guy out there on the field. I am pissed off if I'm a fan of Tampa Bay.
Say Russell Wilson's making less than Terrell Pryor,
Yeah.
who's his third string backup. So,
Exactly.
And I say that you sit Glennon also because I actually just like Josh McCown a little bit more than Glennon. Getting back to these rookies, though, Houston, Tom Savage, start him or sit him?
sit him.
Joke.
He's
What?
a development quarterback.
He's not even.
Yeah,
he's
but
never
is he
gonna see the
real?
field.
You guys talked about a
Never
pick
seen
machine
the
in
field.
Oakland. I mean,
no,
Fitzmagic.
Case Keenum saw the field, so I wouldn't say never.
Yeah, but it's not.
I don't
It's not
believe Tom Savage
Kubiak
never
on the
seen field.
sidelines. We don't know if O'Brien likes Case Keenum or not.
I will say one thing about Houston. I think before Tom Savage sees the field, if things go horribly wrong, which I'm not 100% sure they will or won't, I think they go and get somebody else. Kyle Orton claims he's going to retire. I don't buy it. I think some team that needs a quarterback late in the season, Kyle Orton's going to get some phone calls. Not anything special, but as a veteran,
But just
we
as a
need
phone
somebody.
call. Okay, to go off of that, what happens first? Quarterback gets injured for X team.
Let's
Are
just
they-
say the Jets.
The Jets. Are they going to...
Fair assessment.
Well, no, because they have Taj Boyd on the bench. I'm just saying X team
a
with a
lot
veteran
of
quarterback.
injuries. Yeah.
Wow.
What happens first? Team calls Kyle Orton for contract. Team calls Patriots for Ryan Mallett.
I would take Ryan Mallett, but I
Yeah.
don't know Belichick's willingness to give him up. I think right now he came out publicly and said
right,
nope.
No. Right now they're not going to give him up.
Right.
When the
And
price goes up because someone needs a quarterback, then we'll
Also
talk.
depends on the team. If a team has, 49ers, a million draft picks,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, okay, let's trade some
That's-
for Ryan Mallett. If you're in
absolutely.
a spot where, like the Buffalo Bills, for example, we just traded our first rounder next year, we should call Kyle Orton.
Yeah, I mean it's totally situational, and again you got to realize that Belichick saying we're happy with our situation means I really don't mean I'm saying anything.
Yeah.
Just offer me something I like and he's yours. Those words mean absolutely nothing coming out of Belichick's mouth. That's like saying he has 53 members on his roster who are probable for next week. Doesn't matter.
And Dave, the last quarterback, start him or sit him, just for you, Garrett Gilbert in St. Louis.
St. Louis, interesting position they're in with a Sam Bradford who has not been living up to expectations.
And I only throw this out there because Dave hates Sam Bradford.
No, I would definitely not start him because that line is just crumbling in front of Sam Bradford.
You're not
I wouldn't. No.
So you're
No,
not starting Bradford?
He's not starting Bradford. Yeah,
Okay,
he's saying.
so you're going to start Gilbert.
Of
That's the
course.
question. Okay.
Of the
Sam
other
Bradford is like
flipped it.
a
young
he's like a
quarterbacks,
Fabergé
sit
egg.
Bradford.
He's like a Fabergé egg. You got to protect him.
So the start him,
on the
sit him for
bench.
Gilbert is start him from you.
Yes.
So
Okay.
I'm a little surprised Ricky didn't bring up his favorite stardom sit-em,
Who?
start Jimmy Garoppolo.
Because he's not going to. He's not going to
Let's
start.
make the case here that Jimmy Garoppolo could start. Ricky, let me hear your best Jimmy Garoppolo should start argument.
Kansas City Chiefs are going to break Tom Brady's ankle. That's how he starts.
And
Ryan Mallett gets traded.
there we go. There we go. You heard it here, people. He would start Jimmy Garoppolo.
I would, but if
Oh,
Brady
no,
breaks his
just-
ankle,
Yeah, that's the
And Ryan Mallett gets traded.
That's the headline.
But it doesn't matter because Ricky would start Jimmy Garoppolo.
I like Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, have you seen that smile?
He's a good-looking guy.
He's a good look. Garoppolo, is that Italian?
Yeah, I was gonna say he's not quite the corn-fed American, but
No, he's no Kirk Cousins.
Jeez,
Don't
I
get
am
me
so-
wrong.
Cousins or Mallett? Which one
Cousins.
gets traded first?
Cousins. Nah, Mallet. Because
I'm
he's
gonna
in
go.
the news.
I'm gonna go a little curveball here. Neither.
Ooh, they're both
Neither.
sticking.
They're both gonna stay on that
Andy
team. For
Dalton gets traded first.
And Dalton gets benched first.
Andy Dalton, start him or sit him.
Sit him. We're gonna put the winner, AJ McCarron, in.
It's the regular season. I see you start them. If
And
they
then
make
put
the
McCarron in
playoffs,
for
you
the
put
playoffs?
McCarron in the playoffs. It's a safety blanket.
You know what? I like that. It's kind of like who was it where Skip Bayless was making that argument for, where it was, as soon as you get to the playoffs, you start Tim Tebow because he's a winner.
Yes.
And whoever the veteran, really great quarterback was for whatever team he was talking about, not a winner in the playoffs. It probably was Peyton Manning.
Yeah, it could have been Peyton Manning, but that's going to do it for the onside kick this week.
We had a couple Tim Tebow references.
Tim Tebow
I'm just saying
references.
that ball that flew past Peyton's head out the back, near the back of the end zone, I think Tebow could have caught that.
And then ran it for a touchdown. That's what he would have done.
Yeah,
He would have thrown a little Hail Mary.
Make sure to leave a comment down below, hit the subscribe, like button. Check out our bonus podcast for you guys this week, our fantasy football top 200 recap for ESPN. We're talking about some good fantasy football stuff in that one. And as always, have a good day, everybody.